Good morning. It is Wednesday, September 27th. We're here for our regularly scheduled commissioner meeting. We have a full slate of commissioners. We have Administrator Mr. Gonzalez and our clerk of the board, Teresa. So at this time, I will call the meeting to order and ask everyone to please rise and join in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the vouchers. I believe we have one today.
We do. Move for approval of fund expenditures in the total amount of $1,073,033.75. As presented, note that it has been reviewed and signed by two representatives of the auditor's office and the county administrator.
Second.
There's been a motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Takes us down to the consent agenda, and we have 11 items on the consent agenda today.
Move for approval of the consent agenda, 11 items as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second for the 11 items on the consent agenda with no request for discussion. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Takes us down to the regular business items. Number one is the Resolution 2023-267, Franklin County RV Park rental rate increase. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this was put together by Susan Grant and Shirley Jones. So just looking at the annual rates and looking to increase those. So I'll let Susan come up along with Shirley to explain the work they've done and the reasoning and where we're going from here. So thank you, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we annually review the rates and the surrounding rates of, just like every rent in Tri-Cities has gone increase. So we're just going to try to be in competition with other parks. Keep competitive. Our rates are attached. Do you have any questions?
Questions, commissioners? Or
I'll just add one thing. What we did as far as the rate goes, there were the KOA that we don't compete with them or try and get the same rates as they do because they've got the amenities of pools, workout rooms, etc. That we do not have. The other one was, and the name of it, it's in Benton City. What's the name of that?
Beach RV.
Beach RV, and they've got the river right in front of them. So again, we actually are equaling their rate at $650. Otherwise, we're above everybody else.
thank you. Questions, commissioners?
You say we're above everybody else, so even like comparison with KOA, I know we don't have the amenities, but I just want to make sure we're not undercutting them excessively or so that it's a fair playing field.
I'm sorry. As far as KOA, and correct me if I'm wrong, they actually, during the summer, are charging $1,200. But again, they've got a lot more going for the park than we have at ours. Ours is just hookups. And then I believe it's $800 during the winter.
And it comes down to 600 to
600?
1,000 is the range.
Okay.
6 to 1,000.
6 to 1,000 for them.
They charge
Again,
by the space and the yardage.
okay.
But we're not undercutting any RV parks in the Tri-Cities.
We are less than KOA, and other than
But
that,
nothing that's comparable.
Right. No, not at all. We're above.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate the fact that you attempted to do what is a difficult job, which is subjective analysis of the various merits of different parks and trying to equate that fairly. I'm assuming that you, in the Franklin County RV Park, took into account the proximity to services in a walking distance that perhaps KOA doesn't have. KOA has a pool, they have other amenities that we don't, But conversely, there are very few places you can walk to from the KOA as compared to the Franklin County RV Park. So you feel comfortable that you weighed all those variables as best you reasonably can. I know it's not an exact science, but you're comfortable.
I think it's pretty comparable, and every year we'll reevaluate, so.
Okay, thank you.
So what are the current rates?
The current rates right now, $5.50.
Okay, that includes your electricity and,
They, in addition, they pay electric,
okay,
$5.50 plus their electric.
all right.
The electrical rates, we just recalculated as well, simply because the rates for Franklin PUD have gone up. And so we recalculated that to where the usage per meter, per space has been redone as well.
So they're being charged the same amount as what we're being charged, correct?
Yes, outside of a tax.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
As an indicator, we got people waiting for ours at our current rates. So we're actually undercutting them at the current rates. And by bringing this up, we're going to be equivalent to, so we're not going to be in competition of, we're going to be equivalent to. So I think it's a great move.
Just the one. Everyone else, we will have higher rates.
Yeah, but they have more availability to a pool, to the other things,
Right.
correct? Yes.
Right.
All righty, thank you. If there's any more questions, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve Resolution 2023-267 as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second for Resolution 2023, -267. Is there any further discussion?
Just a note that I heard something there at the end I wanted to get clarity on. Did you say that the KOA off-season rate, when arguably the pool is not available, is still $1,000 a month?
No, that is their range all year, so from 6 to 1,000.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Could you?
More of their summer rates are more towards the 1,000. And it's
So-
based on size of the lot.
Summer rates are ballpark 1,000, and the winter
But
rates
the winter
are?
rates will go back down from 6 to 8, 6 to 8 probably.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have any other questions? Nothing? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. Moves us down to the presentation of the Harris White Leisure Group, known as the HWL contract. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as you mentioned, this is the contractual talks, I guess you could say, in public for the Harris White Leisure Group for the management of the HAPO Center. I've provided each of you with the proposed contract from HWL, also the SVM management contract, just in case there was any comparison or analysis that you wanted to do to contrast or compare, what we have to what we're going to. And we've got Wes Harris and Larry Leisure here to answer questions. So, gentlemen, you can come up to the stage and grab a mic. And if there are questions from the commission, I know you guys will answer them.
If you want to, please have a seat. We got a mic there too, and I believe it was working, and we want you comfortable.
Thank you.
And welcome.
Thank you.
And Chair, permission to speak. I will note that we've had robust conversation back and forth. All three commissioners have had a chance to view them. Commissioner Peck weighed in. Those have been taken into account by Harris White Leisure. So this latest contract does reflect some of the updates that Commissioner Peck wanted. So in full transparency, I think it's been a good process and amenable, and these men are really, really good to work with.
Well, I thank you for your professionalism and putting this all together. Thank you.
Yeah, I
Mike.
appreciate it. One thing I do want to note, Chair, is that I did receive a couple of inquiries from the city of Pasco requesting that they're involved, at least the opportunity to look at the contract. I know time is of the essence, and I've talked with the Harris White Leisure Group. Certainly, and I'm being hypothetical here, if the contract was to get signed, if there needed to be addendums or recommendations for the city, I want to be very cognizant. You know, there are partners in the process. They have a vested interest. You know, I want to be respectful of that ask, but also I know time is of the essence, and we've got to get them in place on October 1st. So I guess this is sort of my message to the city of Pasco, that we will continue to work with you as great partners in the process. So
We as
putting it
well.
out there.
Thank you. All right, so contracts in front of us, questions, commissioners?
Well, Chairman, I've got a few. I'm not going to do them all in one sitting so as not to jeopardize the time, so I'll do a few and then we can progress. I'll start, Mr. Gonzalez. In your email correspondence with me, you acknowledged receiving my edits and inputs, but you didn't indicate that any of those recommendations or edits had been adopted. In fact, from the tenor of the email, I got the impression that none of them had been. So it necessitates me asking you to refer to the contract and please identify for me which of those inputs I provided that have been adopted.
You know, I really left that up to HWL, you know, as this is a negotiation and, you know, certainly a two-way street. So, you know, as our partners in the process, I'll let them answer that.
Yes, so after reviewing the information you put in there, it's really loud, isn't it?
Yeah, you want to
There
stay
you
back a
Stay
little
back,
bit.
okay. So Commissioner Peck, after reviewing your input, right, we found most of them to be valid and appreciated. And so we went through there and I adopted all of them.
Okay? Thank you.
You bet.
Mr. Gonzalez, did you share the comments and edits that I proposed with the other board members?
I believe I did. I'd have to go back and check for sure, but let me get back to you on that, and I'll definitely let you know.
Gentlemen, if I may ask, did you receive those comments and edits?
Regardless if we received them, if they're all in the contract, I've read through them.
Oh, I understand. I'm concerned about the process and ensuring that you've had the benefit of seeing them. I think it would be unusual for one commissioner to support some or put forward some comments and only have the county administrator and the contractor see them. It's if you care not to answer, that's of course your prerogative. I'm just trying to ensure that
I'm just saying
everybody
I've read
has the
through the
benefit of.
contract.
Excuse me, Chairman. I'm just trying to ensure that everybody has the benefit of seeing all the information, because there may be subsequent questions that come up that pertain to that would be difficult to answer if you had not seen them. So I'm merely trying to understand if you've seen them, but I understand you.
What I've seen is the contract, and I think the contract looks very professionally done, and I have no problem with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and Chair, permission to speak. What I will say is I worked really closely with Jeff Briggs, and you know, anything that came my way, I ran through him, and you know, he's checking those to form, and again, it's a conversation that we're having as partners in this process. So yeah, I know Commissioner Peck he sent me an email that he was a little concerned that I shared it with HWL, which to me didn't make much sense. You know, if we're partners in the process, so that I'll just put that on the record.
Well, I'll respond to that since I still have the floor. In a discussion between a contractor and this executive body, the three commissioners, it is important to realize that no one commissioner speaks for this board, which is the basis for my question of whether or not my edits and comments had been provided to my fellow commissioners so that we could speak for the county. To send them directly to the contractor without the rest of the board having had the benefit of reviewing those would be putting forth what could appear to be a county position on the contract when in fact it was not. The sharing of information with the contractor is certainly not the issue. It is correct that we are partnering with them, but there may well have been things in those comments that my fellow commissioners had a serious issue or concern with, and they deserve the right to see those before it went to the contractor. So that's the underlying premise, that's the process, and it's one of respect and for the board as a process. That was the purpose for it, but I'm grateful. I appreciate your openness and your willingness to accept all, as you said, all of the edits and comments that were provided. While I've never seen a contract in 15 years of doing this that I thought was perfect, I've also come to realize that there always is give and take, and we're asking you to make the facility better. And if the revenue projections that we're all hoping for come to pass, then some of the inherent costs are less concerning. If those revenues don't come to pass, then I have some real concerns about the amount of overhead cost. When I look at the management fee, which I don't necessarily think is unreasonable, but let's add them up, the management fee plus a currently unknown number of additional employees to be paid for by the county, plus, and I'll skip over the percentages on some of the ancillary activities because you've agreed to take those out. It leaves an unknown equation for me to look at it with the interests of the county and the taxpayers in mind and say, okay, do I think it's realistic expectation for this facility to generate this kind of revenue to cover these costs? And having taken out those other pieces, I'm talking about the ticketing and the parking and security and those pieces, I think there is potential revenue there to make it a viable contract. So I appreciate your doing that, and as promised, I'm going to be quiet for a while and listen to some other questions.
Commissioner Peck, if I may.
Absolutely.
We were made very, very much aware that the comments that we reviewed were your comments, and which you stated in your email, which
Right.
we felt was important. So we knew that these were solely your comments, and took those accordingly. And we did, which Wes, this is his area, but we felt that there were some good comments in there that made sense on the clarification of the contract. And it wasn't a 5-page contract, as you know. Everyone's trying to put all of this in there together so that it can be moved forward. And we are in a position, there was discussion previously about hiring local folks. Well, we have officially hired a new GM that starts on the contract on the 2nd, and we have also hired the other folks that are there presently in the process in our interviews and so forth. Wes and his folks have done that. So we're prepared to move forward based upon the changes that you provided in the contract.
Well, I appreciate that, and it was clear to me that you were aware that they were my comments because the document itself has my initials as the commenter and my last name. So my concern was really predicated on not putting forward such substantial comments and edits without the benefit of my fellow commissioners seeing it first. But they don't appear to have any objections, so I'm certainly not going to have any, and thank you.
Very good.
In regards to the performance meetings, how often do you think that these meetings will occur?
As far as performance meetings, we've put in there that we think, initially, they need to be more often.
Right.
Okay, as we start and get the process going. After that, it should be like a quarterly meeting unless there was something extraordinary that went on or something that needs to be discussed. But I'm assuming, monthly to start and then quarterly as needed.
All right, that sounds good to me. Thank you.
I will clarify also, as we stated in our initial proposal to you and others, is that we have been working on a 60-day long-range plan and process that for the month of September and October, to be back to you in a formal presentation to take a look from our perspective right now, some of the areas and questions and concerns about the real estate operations, et cetera. So that would be a separate meeting, but a starting point, we believe, as looking at all of this. And so it's not that anything was bad, it's that we, as stepping in now, will be coming with and to you for looking at that support. So that's a separate entity, but it isn't, because we are taking the time now to really review the operation and some areas that we think may be helpful in getting us to that profit making areas that we're discussing. And so we're definitely planning on being back here the first part of November when we can fit that on your agenda and in our dealing with Mike.
All right, thank you.
All right. If there's no further questions.
I have no further
Commissioner
questions.
Peck, you have any further questions? The one thing I see in here is the termination. Either one of us can terminate this at any time. So
That's correct.
there's
Yep,
nothing
like I said, if
binding.
it's not a good marriage, let's break it up,
There you go.
right?
I think that's,
And we also took the recommendations of, that were, when we put this contract together, we were asked, put a contract together. So we took a boilerplate of what we had normally put together, and our contracts are always negotiations, they're partnerships, okay? It has to work for both sides. It has to be something that both sides, feel good about. So with Mr. Peck's information, which was very insightful, and thank you for that, and information that we received from Mr. Gonzalez, like I said, we put together what we thought was what you wanted to see and what you felt comfortable with. And so going forward, there's a few more things that we're going to have to change in there or add to. The accounting firm has made recommendations that recently, I don't know if they've been shared.
Yeah, so I wanted to kind of tack on to that, Wes, and perhaps bring up Matt Beaton, because we've been working really diligently on this financial transition plan with Clifton Larson Allen, and they provided recommendations that I put in your inbox this morning, and also some takeaways from a meeting that HWL met with Clifton Larson Allen yesterday to sort of get the financial overlay of what's transpired and how we get to those KPIs, because I think that's the addendum, because right now, commissioners, it's unclear on how revenue flowed in and out, in terms of accrual accounting. These are CPA standard accounting measures, and I've learned quite a bit about event management in terms of the way a caterer might operate their books versus an event management space. So it's different. There's different nuances to the way P&Ls were viewed and things like that. So we're trying to clear all that up. Point being, so that they've given us recommendations that we can perhaps tack on as an addendum to the contract. So I want to let Matt come up really quick and speak to that, and because his team has really done the bulk of the work. I've had my reporter hat on and taking notes, but the auditing team has really been working closely with CLA, so these gentlemen can have a really clear financial picture of what's happening out at the HAPO Center.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have been working with CLA meeting, and there has been, some of the auditing recommendations. They are not, again, I've spoken with HWL, and they are not something that I think needs to be, hold up this process. It's, as has been the case when we had, when we managed ourselves, or even with SVM in there, our ability to come in and do these things that they've noted, and a lot of it's, just process and being able to audit at what interval. And so from that perspective, they have the cutover that we're trying to do to get that as clean a slate so that HWL can come in and have the best shot at trying to figure this out. And I do want to say, I mean, the thing we have here that I completely support is that the vendor you selected recognizes that we need to do this 60-day visioning. So that is key, because I think, they get the contract, but they still need to come out and find out what we got. And it really hasn't been done ever. And so it's kind of the maturation process. So from my perspective, what you have in your inbox and our work with CLA, in the cutover as well as the contract, they reviewed it just so that we can make sure I support, getting these guys going today and working with them on an ongoing basis. So, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there any other questions?
I would like to visit the termination for cause terms, the termination for convenience terms. This is Exhibit B, Section A, number 3. And Mr. Gonzalez, I found this at my desk when I came in this morning here at the dais. This is the current version.
Yes, that's the updated version.
I don't see any edits here other than in the margins. I don't see any. So let's see. I guess that's must be around page 15 or 16.
Yeah, this is the latest one with your edits.
Okay. And 16. Yeah, so these page numbers are not matching up exactly, so give me a moment if you would. Okay. So of the concerns that I had, one of them was that if we were to terminate for convenience, we, the county, prior to the full term of this contract, that we would be responsible, the taxpayers would be responsible for paying out 50% of the remaining fee, management fee. And given it's a 5-year contract, if we were to close out this relationship for whatever reason after a year, and I would note that when SVM came in emergency circumstances and picked up the ball and ran with us and put the facility in the black, nevertheless, despite those accomplishments, we still decided after a year to terminate their agreement with us. So it can happen as early as a year, certainly. So as I'm looking at Exhibit B, A3, and the document that you handed out, it doesn't appear that the changes have been made. It still reads, in addition, the contractor shall be paid 50% of the remaining management fee due to them for the term of the contract, which after 1 year, by doing the simple math, would mean that the taxpayers would be on the hook for more than $500,000 to buy out this contract. Now, all fairness, perhaps I'm looking at the wrong document. Maybe I'm misreading something. I'm always certainly happy to be corrected. But I am looking at page 16 of the document that you've identified as the latest version. Page 19. I thought it was 16. Page 19. Starting at the top of the page, it says Exhibit B, and then under that is Section A, termination for convenience, and number 3 is compensation upon termination. And my concern was that 50% of the remaining management fee over the remaining, say, 4 years, if we were to terminate at the 1 year point, added up to a pretty big severance. I mean, we give our county employees, our more senior folks, 2 months severance. This isn't a direct comparison, I realize, but perhaps I've done the math wrong. At $20,000 a month times 12 months is pretty significant. You're talking 240. You just keep adding it up for 4 years. let's just do that to make sure I've done my numbers right and be fair to
Point of
everybody.
order, it's
Yeah.
not 20,000 a year. It starts at 15, goes to 17.5. 22 jumps to 30, then 35 the fifth year. Just wanted to put that on the record.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Please educate me. What were those numbers again?
The starting management fee would be 15,000 first year, 17.5 year 2, year 3 22, year 4 30, year 5 35.
Okay, well, that's helpful. And we could go to the trouble to recalculate the numbers, but I think anybody can see that if we were to terminate at the 1 year point, we would have a year's worth of management fees at 17.5, another year at 22, another year at 30, another 35, and then 50% of that. That seems like a lot of severance. That was the point. But I'll note, reading from my comments, the termination payout should be no more than expenses incurred by the contractor to date, to the date of termination, plus 3 months management fee. And they've already said on the record that they've accepted those comments. So I'll leave that be. Thank you.
Commissioner Peck?
Yes.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. When we do these edits and stuff, you know, we push accept all, and these comments didn't get entered into there, but those comments are correct, and they will be entered in. So what we're looking,
So,
As far as
so
your-
what I submitted is a recommendation you're accepting?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That makes it very easy. I appreciate that. And I'm sorry if I cut you off.
no, and I apologize for not getting this in there. But it will be in the final draft for you.
Okay, well, rather than go through some of the others that I think might have been overlooked, I'll just, without any hesitation at all, take you at your word that you'll incorporate all of those things, the binding arbitration, those other considerations that I had concerns about as well. And I thank you for that. Mr. Chairman, I think the only other comment I have, given the gracious nature of the contractor's acceptance of those comments, is that I think this board should, out of respect for the city's direct financial interest, should not take a final action on this until we have heard from the city, and I think that that can certainly be expedited. I expect they'd be happy to get back to us. We have made a number of decisions over the years about the HAPO Center, formerly the Track Center, in which we did not coordinate with our partners at the city. I was part of those decisions. I regret the fact that we didn't coordinate with them in advance, but I think that should be remedied, and we should certainly do it before we take final action. At this point, I'm not seeing anything in the agreement that causes me significant heartburn, so I'm not looking to hold up the process, but I'm looking to respect the city who is on the hook for half of any potential losses, not that we're expecting to have any.
Mr. Gonzalez, you have?
Yeah, I would like Jeff Briggs to weigh in a little bit here from a legal perspective, because I think what we're facing is we've got to get a contract signed in order to get some liquor licenses moving forward, is my understanding. Yep. So and I want to respect the city, certainly in the partnership perspective, because I think it only helps us that they're chugging right along with us in a positive direction. Based on, and you could see the amenable nature of HWL, really easy to work with. I have no doubts that if the city came with recommendations, that they would certainly be open to them. I have a great relationship with the city of Pasco. You know, it's an open door both ways. So I feel good about if we did have to sign the contract, and I want to get your guys' feeling on that too, in terms of, you know, the sense of urgency, because I don't want to, you know how bureaucratic processes go. We have the best intention to go quickly, then it gets mired in process, and you go, oh gosh, here we a month later, the contract's still not signed. So I don't necessarily want to put you guys in that position while respecting the city's perspective. Would you guys make that commitment to work with the city, you know, in terms of contract amendments and things of that nature?
Yes, absolutely. And we've already recognized there's several amendments that need to be put in here as far as the accounting. Commissioner Peck, right, you know, how are we going to find out how much it really costs? You know, so with the new accounting that's been suggested, maybe we can actually come up with a solid number, because we need that number for our KPI anyway. So we're anxious to go ahead and work with you and do whatever amendments we need to do. And of course, these are no-cost changes, and all it is clarification.
Right, right. Jeff, are you able to weigh in?
Good morning, Commissioners. So as far as the City of Pasco weighing in, that sounds great. I would note that in our agreement with the City of Pasco, we have sole decision-making authority with respect to the management of the facility.
Right.
So ultimately, it is the county's call on that. If we want to get something done by the end of the week, we'd need to hold a special meeting, which would require 24 hours notice, posting the completed contract that we intend to adopt on the agenda on our website, and then moving forward. So there would be a path forward this week, but we've got a tight window of time. Is there anything else you wanted to know?
So anything they suggest is advisory in nature anyway. And there's no problem with, obviously, addendums to the current contract, because we've got any update Commissioner Peck's suggestions anyway. So I feel like we're in a good position. We've got to do some tweaking and updating anyway. So if
Yeah, right. And I guess, well, the other concern would be who's going to be providing the comments. Is it the city
Right.
manager? If it's the council, then they would need to have they would need to notice that and have their own
right,
meeting.
because and I exchanged an email late last night with Adam Lincoln, the city manager, and he expressed he wanted the council to at least get the opportunity to take a look at it, maybe weigh in a little bit. Also received an email from a council person this morning, kind of with the same ask, like let us look at it. Where I want to be respectful of HWL, that they're going to start on October 1st. So they've got to get their liquor license in place. They've got to get those things moving. But I am confident, based on the positive nature of how this has gone, that we can all work together,
Yes.
Maybe for the first time in the history of the city of Pasco and Franklin County. And I'm proud and happy the way this has worked out, because I think we've all collectively worked together to make this a positive experience. And, I'm publicly making my commitment on the record to make sure it's a good process with the city. But I do feel like we've got to get them in place and get them moving. That's my feeling. And, while we respect publicly the city of Pasco and say, look, we're going to work with you guys. We're going to come to the table, and the suggestions that you make, I can't guarantee we'll, take them all, but you'll have a seat at the table essentially, and you'll be listened to, perhaps unlike in the past. So,
Like a tight window for if we want the council member to speak as a council and discuss it, that would require a public meeting.
yeah.
So that would be, they would have to have a special meeting, because their meetings, unless they've changed, are on Tuesdays.
So,
Mondays.
let me ask you,
Monday.
let me ask you this, Jeff. I know they had a workshop this past Monday. There's certainly enough time to get on their agenda Monday to speak openly about it. If they had the opportunity this coming Monday to speak about it, make their recommendations to us by next Tuesday or Wednesday, we work with HWL, the commission, and we come to consensus in your office, obviously, to say, okay, here's the city of Pasco's recommendations. Let's plug those in. So that's possible, right? And,
Yeah, that sounds good.
and that's preferable.
It is. We've already made our commitment. We've already hired our people. We've already
Right.
engaged the bank, the insurance. We've always hired engineers. We've already been working on the process.
Right.
That's our commitment to you, that we're going to be here and we're going to do the job. Your commitment to us has been what you've shown us today and what you've shown us throughout this process, which is commendable. So we're willing to work with you in any manner you need.
Absolutely. Well, it sounds good. And I like the fact that the next council meeting, the public can weigh in, because there's public comment. The workshops, there's not. So I think that gives the opportunity for the public to weigh in, the council to weigh in, get it on their agenda. I can work directly with Adam Lincoln, and we'll come up with consensus.
Great, sounds good. I think Mr. Sant has some comments.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a couple things on here as we're trying to push this through for the date. And I was trying to track going back and forth from the revisions, and I appreciate the contractor here making some amendments or adjustments. But based on what they said, I wanted to clarify, because I think the language for the termination for convenience, essentially, of the parties, what I heard is that this is kind of like a marriage situation, or described as that if something's not working out either side, this looks like it has language only that references the county being able to do that. There's nothing that indicates, essentially, there's a reference in the breach, or if there's a material breach, then it gives you the opportunity to go through that kind of proviso. But I just wanted to say that if the intention is to have both parties can sever this for convenience, obviously, I think it's the goal of this board, as well as with the contractor, to be able to, hey, we come across issues, disputes, we're able to resolve those. Majority of those, hopefully, disputes will be resolved outside of the arbitration clauses or the mediation clauses. I think this is an ongoing process, and it seems like the contract does have that flexibility. I just wanted to make sure, based on what was said today, if that is the intent, to have both parties be able to have that flexibility, we might want to add something on there for the convenience, so it's clear that, hey, this is what the county could find, this is what the contractor. The only other issue I did want to raise, I think this is actually, it's the issue of the coverage that's mentioned under the commercial general liability. We've had recent conversations with our risk pool, and this term, or the number that's provided, 2 million, has been a number that has been there for way longer than really what has been adjusted for recent claims. I would suggest to the parties, this was kind of a concern that's been raised through the risk pool, is that we raise that to $4 million. This is for the protection of both the county, the city, and also I would ask that we add the HAPO Center. When we approve contracts for the events that are held, we ask those individual contractors that they actually specifically name the HAPO Center as well, so it covers that entity as a separate entity, as well as individually the city of Pasco and the county. The 4 million figure, I think, is more appropriate, and that will give, I think, a little bit of benefit for both parties, because one, that means with, unfortunately, the cost of litigation rising, that'll give added protections, not just to the county HAPO Center and the city, that'll give additional protections to the contractor as well for having that. So that was just kind of a recommendation through our collective risk pool in our state, where we are a member, at least, is basically made up of other counties. So it's basically, we are self-protected, essentially, so we have to adjust cost and things as we see claims coming in. So I would just make that's a kind of a small, and just in close, I guess the final comment would be, if the intent is to get this finalized so that you guys could hit the ground running October 1, I think the board could call a special meeting. We could set that on for Friday. We could adopt the language of the contract based on what's been discussed by the board and the contractor, so that we could have before the board, before the public, hey, this is the draft version. But also, I think we could add a clause in there that says the parties agree to continue to work and consider in good faith any additional comments that may be coming from the city of Pasco, from the general public, when the public has an opportunity to view that contract, and the parties will work to review and consider for any further adoption of those recommendations. Doesn't necessarily bind the party, but I think what it does is it puts out there the need for having a contract in place so that they could hit the ground on the scheduled target date. It'll give them something that they could initiate the process of getting licensing, but also clearly tells the public that this is giving an opportunity for those public comments to come in once we see all these edits together. Because that's always a concern, I think, for both parties. It's like we say something and then we don't have the final version in front of us. And I just want to make sure the board has that opportunity to see kind of the final proposal that incorporates all this. It gives everybody an opportunity to review those changes, so you could see those edit suggestions, so that we're all on the same page. And I think that would be the best course, rather than waiting till next week and, as he described, the process of making sure, if that's the route that the city wants to go of having notice, I think this is the best proposal, I guess, that gets you guys what you need to hit the ground and be able to have some certainty with a contract in place. That's just a thought. So any other questions, thoughts from the board?
I think we could add that clause to this right now, because I have a conflict on Friday. I'm supposed to be at a meeting up north. I probably won't be here for the meeting, and I want to make sure we get this going.
That was just a suggestion, just because of the timing, the nature, opportunity, so that everybody can see.
I like your logic. And hypothetical, if we approved it today, Sean, could we create a later addendum? You know what I'm saying? Where do we pick it up from here? Because we know we have to make the changes, and we've said that and promised it on the record, which we will do. Yeah. But I understand your concern, like you leave the building and people forget about things.
Chairman Diddy, or would you be available maybe tomorrow afternoon? Because looking at our notice requirements, if we're able to put out notice in time, we could do an afternoon meeting tomorrow. That could be an option.
Well, that's an option, Sean, but I'm asking, why do we need to delay it? If they'll accept that language to be added to it right now,
okay,
we can pass it today.
I'm just saying, my preference as county's counsel, I don't usually like just agreeing with verbal assurances back and forth. I want to make sure, for the benefit of both parties on this, that we get to see, they get to see the changes so that it's laid out in writing. And if the board wants to adopt something today simply with an added clause in there that the parties simply reserve and incorporate by the record of what was said here in this recorded meeting,
right,
that's up to the board. That is not my preference. I would never do that as an attorney, adopt what has been said, just verbal, because basically the contract is in writing, the terms of the contract are there, and if we don't incorporate some of those changes, I mean, we could do a quick edit. If they're agreeable with like the 4 million amount, that's something simple we could plug in. I also know there was another amount on the number of days. I think there's been a discussion of a days on the mediation process. It just said on the draft contract, it had number with a bracket as if the parties were going to insert a number there. I don't know if that's been changed, but I think there was some discussion about a 15-day period. It's little things like that that I just want to make sure, and that's why I would prefer to see it, because it's those little things that until we have a final written contract, but I'll defer to the board. If the board wants to take it as, hey, they've incorporated the changes that have been discussed and made, with the caveat that both parties reserve the right to make the final revisions and edits consistent with the discussion with the board today, I'll defer to the board. That's just not my practice to not have the final contract in place, and it's probably not theirs, but under the timing crunch that we have to get you going, that might be what we need to consider.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
So,
Yeah,
Mr.
to
Chairman,
comment on that, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Were you asking for the floor?
I just said, Mr. Chairman, I was
Yes.
waiting for a break.
Commissioner Mack.
Is there reason to believe that you can have the necessary liquor license in place in 72 hours from now?
It is not.
Yeah, that's a kind of a lengthy process usually.
It is a lengthy process, and we've already made an agreement with the Simmons, right, that we're going to go ahead and let them do that.
Okay.
And that'll probably process for a while, quite a while.
Yeah,
And I anticipate 3 months at best.
yeah. So I appreciate the fact that you've, apparently you do your homework very well, because that is a sticking point. I mention it because I think that was brought up as the basis for the urgency to do this today, when in fact you've got liquor license coverage for a few months, however long it reasonably takes for you to get your own license. So that doesn't bring any urgency to the equation. You're good to go, you're covered, you've got an operation. I understand the desire to get that transition as soon as possible, certainly. But it doesn't preclude you from moving forward with your other plans and executing. So that being the case, I'm not sure where this urgency comes from that it has to be by the 1st of October. It couldn't just as well be, say, the 14th of October, which would give us time to actually see a finished written document that incorporates all of these changes. One of the things that I've not seen yet, and perhaps the information simply isn't available, but I don't have any clarity as to how many employees you're asking the county to pay for out of HAPO funds. You did say earlier that you're anxious to get going and that you've hired your people, I think was the term you used. Could you give me some insight, please, as to how many people you've hired that the county would be paying for? How many you've hired under your own business that you're paying for with your management fee, I think is largely your business. But I'm interested in the ones that you have hired or you intend to hire that will be paid for by the county. Can you help me with that?
Yes, we've hired the current employees and staff that are there now, and they've agreed to come over. We've done the onboarding process with them and everything. We've added one person, and that's the overall center manager, right, which we need in place to do a lot of things we're doing as far as bringing up, doing more than what's being done in there and try to bring it up. So we have one additional employee.
And at least as we sit here today, you anticipate additional employees as the need arises, as the operations grow, as revenues arguably would grow. So maybe I'll just confine my thoughts for the present, which is the staff that you're asking the county to pay for are no different than essentially what SVM currently has, plus this one management position. Is that accurate?
That is accurate.
Okay, and because the public is paying for this manager position, I'd like to ask, what is the compensation for that position?
I don't know if it's
Even a ballpark,
70, 80 range.
70 to 80,000?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and that's, those, those costs and the county's obligation to pay for current and future employees, I don't think I saw in this agreement. Did I miss it?
When we're talking about the KPIs and where we're going to find our line for profits and where it's going to be our break even for the county is one of the things that we've had open for discussion and have been waiting for the auditors to come back with so we could establish that, like what is counted in and what
understand.
is not. You know, the county and the city both, are putting funds into that. Is that part of it? Is that not part of it? So we're trying to establish those, and that's what I was saying, as far as the accounting basis that we've all been working on diligently, and you guys have brought auditors in to assist, right? I think we're getting closer to figuring out what that line is. That line will be a moving target. As this facility grows, as it does become more profitable or brings in more income, we're obviously going to have to increase the staff to accommodate the need. So it'll always be a moving target, hopefully moving up all the time. And so any KPIs and any, thing that we're talking about will be based on profits over and above, and those profits will be established in concrete, not what we have right now. We're not really sure what is counted and what is not as counted. So as soon as we can have that, we can provide you with that information.
My sense is knowing.
Commissioner,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, please.
Commissioner Peck, as stated in the document, we don't know in 2 years how many new employees
Right.
would or wouldn't be there. We're coming to you, as I say, in November, looking at it on a much broader basis and looking at some of the areas of concern and interest to present to you. That has not been completed yet, and all it is recommendations. We're also, we do a budget. It's very clear in here that a budget has to be approved by you. So that's what it's going to be all about. So at this stage, our point is that we are planning, hopefully, to do a lot more than what's been done in the past. I'm not talking about the last 9 months. We're talking big picture here and what is needed, including capital discussion and all of that. So we don't know that. You may come back and say, hey, we only like one of your 25 recommendations, and here's where the budget's going to be changed or not changed. And as I say, you're going to be approving that. And obviously, the employee salary is very much a part of that. So that's our anticipation.
So that's very helpful. Thank you. That adds a lot of clarity to what your intentions are.
And I do have to say, I hope you will feel that we have attempted in the last 60 days to work with the county, work with you on all of these areas. And we said on September 1, we will be ready to go October 1. We've been ready to go since October 1, and not the 14th. We have people that are hired because we thought we were all on board together to move to that. And yes, we had to do something with a Plan B on the liquor license. We know that. But we also, anything that's legal and that works for the county's on the license already. You know that. You have the license. So anyway, we're not, we're saying we've hired people to start, and we've changed over so that it was going to be an easy transition. We've had good response too, by the way, that I've mentioned at all of our meetings with the advisory board and so forth, is that the existing operator has been very helpful in moving this forward in the transition. The Simmons have been great to work with, and providing all that information as we all came together. So anyway, they were informed on the 1st. We talked with them, and they knew exactly what was going to happen. And we're moving forward in a number of ways with them for the food service side, as you know.
Yeah. So let me reiterate, I appreciate your comments about the budget and the fact that ultimately that comes here for approval. And I want to be sure that I understood the intent of your remark, which was that if there are to be any additional hires paid for by the county, that would only take place if that's in the budget and approved by the board. And so that, by way of explanation, I'm known for asking a lot of questions. I think it is my responsibility as I sit up here to do that. And this process candidly would have been easier and I think more fluid and perhaps more timely if some of this information had been available sooner. For the record, the first time I saw anything in the way of a contract was on Sunday of this week. And like all of us, we're busy. Now, I requested in writing earlier.
Point of order.
Excuse me.
Actually,
you
received
don't get to call point of
September
order, Mr.
10th.
Gonzalez. You are not a county commissioner. You're a county
Commissioner Peck,
administrator.
Commissioner Peck,
Permission to speak.
Point of
Chair.
order.
Mr. Gonzalez, wait till Commissioner Peck is done, and then you're next. Commissioner Peck.
So, anticipating that there may be quibbling about dates, I'll just say that the first time that I saw anything that resembled even approaching a product that I could provide comments on was within the last week, and I provided comments on it late Sunday. That was a reference to Sunday. So if I misspoke, that's what the Sunday afternoon evening was. It's when I put in my comments. We've not had any board meetings until today since I had that opportunity to make those comments. I got an email back that said that that my comments had been sent to you and that the document had been vetted, but there was no information as to whether or not any of my comments or edits were accepted or rejected, or whether my fellow commissioners have seen them. So I think you can understand, as an elected county official who's got a duty to taxpayers to understand what I'm voting on, that it's not unreasonable to have a few questions today. And you gentlemen have been most gracious in answering those, and I thank you for that.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Chair, I just wanted to put it on the record that, I was actually advised by the PA's office to give you guys equal information at equal times, so there wasn't necessarily too many cooks in the kitchen. I do want to put this on the record. Commissioner Peck emailed me September 7th saying he hadn't seen the proposed contract. I replied that I'd have something by Monday, and my understanding is you actually obtained that from Sean Sant the very next day. September 10th, you, along with Commissioner Didier, Commissioner Mullen, all elected officials in the county received that contract. Tuesday, the 25th, all 3 commissioners were given that again. So I want to let the public know, for the record, you've seen it multiple times.
All right.
Not anything that had any of my comments attached. And we will get to emails, which are public records. Based on your comments, I think I'll just notify the board now that I'll make those emails, all of them, public here in the
I
future.
welcome you to make them.
Thank you.
Okay,
I would
all right.
appreciate it.
I've seen the emails too, and honestly, we put Mr. Gonzalez in charge of doing this contract. He's done an admirable job, great job working with the Harris Leisure HWL, and I thank him for all his hard efforts. So with that, I think we're done with discussion. We know there's no urgency for liquor, but we've got to get them running so they can get this HAPO Center turned around. So with that, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that we sign the contract today. I don't see a resolution or number on it, but
There's no resolution on it, but I will second that we'll sign this contract today with the clarity that we will make changes and we will listen to Pasco and we will play good together in the sandbox. So with that, is there any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman, comments.
Commissioner Peck?
If this were my own money and I wanted to take this level of risk in my own business, I'd have every right to do that. But I have a duty as a commissioner to the best interests of the people of Franklin County. I would not sign this contract under these terms if it were my own personal money at stake, and I won't do it with the public's money. I apologize to the contractors that the county has not been able to get to a finished contract in time to meet your 1 October deadline. I'm cognizant of the difficulties that may create for you, but given that we don't have the financial structure and clarity on the accounting, that we don't have a written document that commits to, and no disrespect to your word, you've said it on the record, but I think there are unanswered questions here. And given that my standard is I should never do for the public's money what I wouldn't do with my own, I can't vote yes at this point. I'm happy to do anything I can to help expedite the process. I suspect, gentlemen, that there's 2 votes that'll support you, so I'm anticipating that this isn't going to delay you, but I'm going to stand on principle. Thank you.
Is there any?
I would just like to say that HWL has been more than willingness to work with us, and I don't see any further need to slow the process. So, thank you.
Thank you.
And I agree, and I thank you for your patience. And thank you for answering all those questions from Commissioner Peck and getting them resolved before you came here today. So with that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
All right, gentlemen, let's get to work.
We're ready.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, next on the agenda is public comment. Is there anybody on the phones or anybody in the room for public comment? Okay. And the phones are working? Good.
Morning, Commissioners. Peter Harpster, Octera Engineering, 2815 St. Andrews Loop, Pasco. We brought forward, I had to write it on my hand, TC 2020-02 text amendment application to the board last week and a month ago. I'm sure you guys remember. And I just wanted to ask the board to consider bringing that back for further discussion. It seemed like there was some project-specific concerns, and if I could maybe email some clarifications to the 4 of you that might be helpful, I can do that. But just wanted to ask for some further consideration to possibly bring that back. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? please come forward.
Morning, Commissioners and staff. Thomas Granbois, Big Maple Properties, 108 North 4th Avenue in Pasco. I just wanted to comment on the process today with the HAPO Center. It's been great to see it out in the public, and I'm fortunate enough to go to both your meetings and the City Council meetings on a weekly basis. And I had the opportunity to hear Councilmember Maloney's passionate comments. I'm sure that all of you, well, I hope that all of you did, and it's great to hear Mr. Gonzalez has been doing that outreach with the city to make things work better, and we always like to see that. One unfortunate thing is, I'm sure that hopefully you heard, Councilmember Maloney is stepping down, which is an unfortunate loss to the city, because he's been an incredible advocate for everybody working together. But at the meeting here, it was mentioned adding this discussion to the council meeting on Monday, and I just have some concern as somebody who attends. They are going to be doing interviews on Monday, so it's going to be a long meeting to replace Councilmember Maloney. I don't know if that matters at all, but I just want to let you know that it will be a long meeting. I don't know if that would be able to sneak in there if that was a concern. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment?
Kathy Sand, Franklin County. I was hoping that the public would have had a chance to look at everything before you agreed to that and voice their opinion. It was done before the public meeting today. So I just would prefer some more transparency for the public's sake, and it is taxpayers' money. So thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Seeing none, we'll move down to Commissioner Administrator updates. Mr. Gonzalez.
Chair, you've been watching it. This is what I've spent most of my time on, working with HWL, Benefits Committee. That's certainly been a big conversation throughout the courthouse. So working really hard with the hub and our Benefits Committee and budgeting. So this is really our busy time of year. So I've been spending a lot of hours, and it seems like morning to night working, but I'm enjoying it, and that's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Peck.
HAPEC Board of Directors meeting this week, and also an additional WASAC LSC meeting. I'd like to report that in the meeting on the 21st in Ellensburg, the Legislative Steering Committee opted not to take up a firm list of priority agenda items to pursue with the legislature this session. We had a list of 4 priority items last year, and for I think the first time in WASAC history, we accomplished all 4, and that left us with no carryovers, and so they voted not to go forward, but rather to use the time for, I think the term was relationship building with the legislature. I was a nay vote on that process, believing that we should always have an agenda of priority items for the 39 counties to take forward, and that the relationship building process happens whether you have an agenda or not, and goes on year round, not just toward or during the legislative session. So that's unfortunate in my estimation, but that's the way they went, and the majority rules there like it does here. Thank you.
Commissioner Mullen.
So the Board of Health meeting last week, interviewing for the final position on the health board. Department of Indian Affairs decided not to participate, so therefore we're looking to fulfill that position. Also had the Bi-County meeting on Monday with the updates on the Recovery Center, which we're in desperate need to get that moving forward as much and fast as possible. And also on the updates on the therapeutic courts with the results that they've had, which I would say, in my opinion, are outstanding. They've done a great job, and it's desperately needed in this community. And then, let's see, this morning I had the Visit Tri-Cities meeting. They're still working with the Ironman competition that they want to bring to this area, which would bring approximately $5 million in economic prosperity to our community. They're also working on the National Horseshoe Pitchers Association, having their championship here in the years 2024 and 27, and working on the new Visitor Tri-Cities booklet, which is a new design, and I think it's more attractive to the people that will be visiting our area to see what we have to offer in this area, in this community. So, thank you.
My last week was the Board of Health, which I was not able to attend, the Columbia Basin Sustainable Water Board meeting, and then the Columbia Basin Sustainable Water Stakeholder meeting. Very important topics today, with water being our precious commodity that provides a lot of revenue for Franklin County. The agenda meeting on Friday, and then the bi-county meeting on Monday, which there was a comment made that our public defense, Franklin County's public defender, should be more vigorous in recommend people for drug court. And we got an email today from Mr. Ziegler, and I just have to say that I have read through it, and he is very upset about that accusation after reading through that letter, and I can understand why. Also, the workforce development meeting yesterday, got a text message from a concerned citizen out here that I will read through, and it's about the bridges that are failing up north for all the equipment and everything that's moving up and down the roads. And it's a message that I think I should read to the public. Can you please bring up the bridge weight restrictions at your next board meeting? It seems like at least 50% of our bridges now have weight limit signs. I think pretty much everyone is ignoring them. With the thousands of tons of ag product moving every day, it is hugely burdensome if you are trying to comply with these limits. There are even 3 bridges with weight limits on Sage Hill Road right before you come to the runaway truck ramp. Obviously, the road was intended for truck traffic. If the bridges really are degraded that much, I would think culverts would be cheaper than bridges for all of our canals, the smaller canals, of course, that are already have known flows. Or maybe the bridges could be improved by welding some beams across the bottom while the water is off. That would probably be an even faster solution. Anyway, I think something for the guys to address. And I've brought these up too. These weight limits are very restrictive, and there are lots of onions and potatoes, and these trucks are getting bigger, the equipment's getting bigger, which leads into my next item on my agenda here is that I witnessed, we had a wreck on Road 68, a young man lost his life, 17 years old, passed on a hump of a road where he didn't see the truck coming the other way, almost took the other young man, 31 years. I witnessed a truck passing a slow-moving farm vehicle going up the road, same thing on a hill. He just got around and a semi was coming the other direction. I'm asking the public out there, drive safely, be patient, because this is a heavy time of farm implements moving up and down the road. And then I'm asking the farmers, please use an area, if you can get off the road and let the line of traffic behind you move ahead, do it. Don't be that guy that just keeps driving until the line's a mile long, because people get impatient and that's when lives are lost. As a county, we need to start looking at putting in some base and gravel alongside of our roadways for farm equipment to get pulled off. We need to start looking into that as a county to make it, especially Glade and 68, the heavy, and even more prominent is 68. I couldn't believe the traffic on Taylor Flats Road until I've been traveling it a lot. It is heavy, and we need to start building these pull-off areas where the farm equipment can keep moving and the traffic can go by. We've got to make our county safer, or we're going to lose more people. And then we've got a couple other things. Oh, one other thing here is the lawsuit. I want to make known to the public. It is Washington State's Association of Counties has filed a lawsuit with 3 counties Lincoln, Pacific, and Yakima, and they are suing on the these mandates that the state is putting down us on our OPD, Office of Public Defense, and this needs to be addressed. The state is putting all the burden of paying for this on the counties. We can't afford it. It's overburdensome. And so this lawsuit is big, is because it's bringing it to the attention for the public to know, but as counties, we need to join, become part of this, because the more counties that join, the more voice we're going to have. There is power in numbers, and we need all the counties to join in this mandate that they're putting on us as taxpayers to pay for the Office of Public Defense when they put the mandates on us. So that concludes my report, and we'll move down to administration office business. First one is Franklin County Administrator Mike Gonzalez evaluation.
Chair, respectfully, we did have a elected and department head business, in case anybody wants to
I
talk.
did jump over that. Is
Yeah, I
there any
wanna-
elected or department heads? Thank you for the,
Okay.
I don't see any elected or department heads coming forward. All right, you're up.
Oh, thank you, sir. And I'll ask Austin to help me out because, at 6 months, I'm supposed to come to the board and with your evaluation of my progress. But I certainly, from a transparency standpoint, wanted to let the public know what I've been up to in these 6 months. It's been probably the six busiest months of my lifetime, I would say. And I've teed it up in there, Austin, if that's easier. So I've put together a PowerPoint with, my initial goals, what I've accomplished, and basically where we go from here. So I wanted to share this with the public and let them know how things are going here at the county. So this is my 6-month progress report, as I call it. So before I started, this was the goal sheet that I put together. Stephen McFadden and I, we were meeting over at the port, and we started kicking around some ideas. So that's really sort of how the inception of some of the things that I wanted to accomplish when I came here 6 months ago. So I really broke it into these 4 areas. Enhanced communication, that's really my strength. As many know, I was a journalist for 20 years, worked from small markets all the way up to Phoenix, Arizona. I've appeared on national, international news shows, so I had a good career, but I will say I'm loving government. It's been really fruitful, and really this has been the favorite part of my professional career. So these 4 areas: public transparency, urgent priorities, and then long-term stability and sustainability of the operation. And that's something, from a sustainability standpoint, I took away from the city of Pasco. They really do an excellent job. So here's some of my accomplishments on the communication front. I meet one-on-one with elected officials on a regular basis. As I met with each elected official across the courthouse, the outcry was, we simply don't know what the heck's going on within the courthouse. So I think there's much more clarity, there's much more communication, there's much more of an open door policy here. I hold elected and department head monthly meetings, so we all get together, and that's something that I can't take credit for Dwayne Davidson established, and we've kept that torch going. It's just been an excellent opportunity to, again, keep the communication in the courthouse robust. I created what I call the Strategic Growth Committee. That was vital in the selection of HWL. They were a part of that process, and again, this was born out of my one-on-one meetings with elected officials who really craved some decision-making opportunities within the courthouse. So that was thus the creation of the Strategic Growth Committee, and has really been the driving force of our sustainability study that we're conducting with Consort Consulting. So proud to say, first strategic plan ever being put together here at the county. So I had met the folks over at Consor at the City of Pasco when I was Economic Development Manager, and they're just doing a fantastic job looking at the sustainability, our revenues, what we're doing. We're doing a bit of a salary study too. Other thing that I've done from a communication standpoint, established a department head meeting with my direct reports every Monday. That's something also was never done. The first meeting, I asked Craig Erdman, have you ever had a department head meeting in your 32 years here? He said, you know what? No, we haven't. So it's a good thing. Communicating with your staff, it's open lines of communication that have never been here before. I meet with Sheriff Raymond's staff and Sheriff Raymond every Monday. If he's not available, I meet with Monty. So that's been really good. Every Monday morning, we have a little coffee. I see what's going on at the sheriff's office, and we just continue to build that relationship. And I also meet with my administrative staff every Monday afternoon. So Mondays are really big for me in terms of communication, but I think it's just lent so much more clarity around the courthouse. So public transparency accomplishments. So the journalist side of me really enjoys this. So we created a Franklin County Facebook page where we share the meetings and we share just information about the county. We now have an Instagram page, a Twitter page. Frankly, I don't like to tweet that much, so I need to get on that page a little bit more. I've created the Franklin County blog page, which I write to. We've also created an internal newsletter where employees can share information about one another. That's been a hit. People are really enjoying that. With my media contacts, I continue to develop those relationships and build them, on a one-on-one basis with people like Corey McCoy, Lori Williams at the Herald. They're really accessible, so I can call them anytime and give my input. Kona Keeper on my TV contacts. So, I really feel like we're controlling the narrative much better than we did before. As an observer of the county, I think sometimes it was really dictated by the media what was going on. So I think I'm really adept and good at that. So I think the message is much more positive coming out of the county now. So these were some urgent priorities that I identified, more involvement from elected officials and department heads in the vital decision-making processes, thus the creation of the Strategic Growth Committee, creation of a leadership council, that's the Strategic Growth Committee. Again, they've been involved in our economic study and the RFP process for the HAPO Center. That long-term financial study and strategic development plan being conducted by Consor now. So through every step of the process, the Strategic Growth Committee has been involved in that, giving feedback, one-on-one interviews, what's the future of the county look like. We're also hot and heavy into benefits analysis, and I'm proud to say it looks like we're going to get a much better health plan. We've worked really closely with the benefits committee, so it looks like Primera's on board, and they're a really good company. So we'll see ultimately where that goes. Was able to distribute the $5,000 retention bonus, which was received really well. That maintained staff. Salary study is what we're going through now. So we're analyzing that, and we're working with our elected officials, department heads, identifying key jobs that are a challenge to keep. So that's kept us really busy. We're looking at our boards and commissions. I think our civil service board has come a long way since I've jumped on board. So that's really good to see. So other things that we've done here, strategic use of ARPA funds. Worked closely with Sean Sant's office and PA's office to help with stabilization. Built a good relationship with Sean. More than $300,000 used to give attorney 10% bonuses. Really proud to say they're nearly fully staffed levels, so that's great to see. Worked with OPD to distribute $300,000 in ARPA. As you mentioned, Chair, whether it comes to the PA's office or OPD, we're really at crisis stage in terms of recruiting, in terms of getting good defense attorneys. So just really trying to keep great relationships with both Larry and Sean, because that's what we do here. Our law enforcement is our bailiwick, so it's critical that we maintain really good staffing levels of both these departments, so I'm really committed to that. Really proud to say that we've worked with our fire districts to obtain, fire equipment, EMT, and firehouses. So, talking with those chiefs, they're just so grateful. And, you think about the farm assets that we have up in North County and how vital it is to protect those. So, really proud of the work we've done. So, current projects that are in the works, and I just mentioned this, the millions of dollars that we've worked with in ARPA funding to North County fire districts, HVAC system, installation at the HAPO Center, that continues. Working to purchase the Michael Davidson Law Office, so that's looking good. Creation of an economic development department using .09 funds is in the works. We're about to do our .09 fund jurisdiction distribution, creation of an accumulated leave fund, which has been in the works. I'm picking that up from Dwayne Davidson's work and working with Tim Anderson on that. Working to clean up Car Body Beach, that's a whole nother story. And approach fee adjustments with Craig's group. Some of my 2024 goals, Public Relations Government Affairs Director, I think we really need that. We certainly need creation of legislative priorities. I think WASAC's great. They do an awesome job on a state level, but I think we can really use some lobbying that is effective for the county. And creation of a North County Advisory Council. So those are the things that I've got on my goal sheet for 2024. And so as you can imagine, I'm keeping pretty busy.
Well, thank you. Now, with that 6 month, I believe there's a bonus coming your way?
Yeah, and I don't know if you'd classify it as a bonus. It's more just, it's a $2,500 increase to basically your hourly wage. And so I don't get any. I don't want the public to think I'm getting
Okay.
a check for $2,500.
Thanks
So,
for the clarity. Ben.
Yeah, so it's not that, but
Well-
yeah, it's greatly appreciated. I feel blessed, and so you know.
Speaking for myself, I just want to say thank you for taking on this job, and you have been a huge success in my mind. Thank you.
Thanks.
I would also just like to say that, even your presentation shows your hard work and dedication for Franklin County and moving the county forward.
Thank you.
You've met every expectation and surpassed it. So I appreciate all your transparency and keeping us well informed. And you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Commissioner.
And I would, I would add my compliments for your communications efforts. I believe that communication among the departments is significantly improved. Our visibility in the public and with the media, I believe, is improved. I do want to ask about the incentive versus pay. Is that a pay increase to your pay, or is that a one-time payment? Or
It's an increase to my
Salary.
salary.
So it's ongoing.
Yeah, so it's not
Okay.
it's not a check that I get cut. It's
it's an ongoing increase to your
Yes.
compensation? Okay, thank you.
Part of the contract we signed. I just missed.
yes, sir. Yeah.
And I believe Mr. Briggs has got something to say.
Mr. Chairman, I would just say that his contract does authorize that. It's in conjunction with a satisfactory performance review. So it doesn't say by whom, but we would presume that would be the Board of County Commissioners. So I think it would be appropriate for the board to make a motion finding that he performs satisfactorily and I guess directing HR to adjust his pay accordingly.
Okay.
I would move that we, with the recommendation that we approve the $2,500 salary adjustment and that Mr. Gonzalez's job has met all the satisfactory conditions, and move that the HR moves forward with the process.
Second with a question.
There's been a motion, a second. Commissioner Peck.
I see there is an executive session, excuse me, on the agenda. Was that intended for, excuse me, evaluating the performance of the county administrator, or is that some other business?
It could be, Your Honor, but, or, Your Honor, sorry, Commissioner Peck. However, I think Mr. Gonzalez is more comfortable doing this in an open session. It's one of those sort of gray areas where the employee can request certainly that it be done in executive session. Typically, though, with someone at the highest level of the executive branch, something like a performance evaluation, if it were in writing, would not be exempt under the Public Records Act, because the public has a right to know how their chief executive officer is performing. And so we kind of kick the can around whether this does apply or does not apply under the OPMA. And again, Mr. Gonzalez, in the interest of full transparency, was comfortable having this in an open session. And really that law is designed to protect his privacy interests. And again, given that he's willing to do this in an open session, I don't believe an executive session is necessary.
Thank you for your comments. I would note that that law is also there to enable the executive body to give candid feedback whether the individual wishes to do it in public or not.
Right.
So really it is up to the body as well as the individual. And I'm happy to do it either way, whichever Mr. Gonzalez would care to do, but I just want to make clear that should a member of this body call for the executive session, that's entirely appropriate from the board's interest, not just the applicant.
Right,
Thanks.
and certainly that's why traditionally performance evaluations are exempt under the Public Records Act, but there is that exception for the chief executive officer, again,
Right.
because of I think the paramount public interest in knowing how the top executive officer for the body is performing.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
So there's been a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Peck?
just want to be sure that I'm clear on the motion. The motion is to grant the increase that we've discussed and to forego the public discussion.
And to advise the HR director to adjust.
Okay, thank you for the clarity.
There's been a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
And,
opposed?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to abstain for this vote. If anyone wishes to query me as to why, I'm happy to do that, but I think for the benefit of all, abstention is the appropriate vote.
All righty. So with that, we're to public comment. Is there anybody for public comment? Is nobody on the phone? Nobody coming forward? With that, we don't need an executive session. Is there any other business for the good of the county?
No, sir.
Hearing none, this meeting is adjourned.